Aloha and welcome back to Ke Alaka'i, the podcast where we find voices of mana in our own aina. We are your hosts, Pim,
Sai,
and Abby. Today's episode is going to be extra special because we are interviewing our very own advisor, LeeAnn Lambert, better known in our office as Sister L.
That's right. Sister L has been the student media advisor and communications instructor at Brigham Young University, Hawaii since January 2005. That's approximately 20 years and 5 months now.
But what makes this interview more significant is its timing, because a few days from now, Sister L will be retiring after 2 decades in BYU-Hawaii, going to Missouri. Can you imagine how much knowledge and wisdom you would have in your career if you've been doing it for 20 years?
Probably not. No.
I don't know about that. But, and for a minute there,
know.
I thought you said misery. I'm going to misery.
Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri.
Some people do call Missouri. But, but yeah, I am going to Missouri.
I have questions for Sai and Abby. What do you think you guys will be doing in 20 years?
Oh, I don't even know. Hopefully I'll have been in a career for quite a while. Maybe have a family.
20 years is like, how old am I going to be? 40 or something? So I hope I could be doing something with business, making money without actually doing anything.
20 years goes by fast, people.
It
So
does.
I warn you, it'll go by so fast. Your life doubled now, but you know what I mean. But it does go by pretty fast.
So why don't we ask the expert, guys? So how are you, Sister L? And how does it feel to be retiring?
You know, if you would ask me that like a week ago, I would have said, oh, it's a long ways off. But it's not that very far off now. And I got to finish getting everything ready to go. It's kind of going to be weird. It's going to be weird to not come in and hang out with you guys every day and teach classes. And also, I love my job. I really do love my job. Finding out about people. I love people. And I love telling their stories because I believe everybody has a story. So it's been fun to be here all these years and learn so many different people's interesting stories from people all over the world. I'm going to miss that. Yeah.
Does it still feel unbelievable to be retiring, or has it already sunk in?
Well, when you're old, physically, you guys are still like the prime of your life. But when your physical body is not so great anymore, there's a point where you think, well, when I broke my leg, you guys weren't here when I broke my leg, but I broke my thigh, and that was really hard to recover from. And I almost retired then, but I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't. It's been, I think, 2.5 years since I broke my leg. So there's a point where your body starts to tell you, okay, you're getting old. Maybe it's time to take it easy. But then other parts of me, I was telling somebody yesterday, there's part of you that never feels old. You know, the inside of you never feel more than 25 the rest of your whole life. So, that part of me. But there's a time and season for everything. And I've worked all my whole life. So this is going to be interesting because now I get to do things that I want to do. I have always done things I want to do because I like what my job is. But I get to work on projects that I want to work on, and that'll be fun. And just hang out with my family members. I mean, I am lucky I have a family member who lives here, but most of my family members don't. But it's been, of course, there's the great Ohana, BYU-Hawaii, so you never really feel alone here.
True. What's something that you are specifically going to do when you go to Missouri? Do you have any plans already?
Yeah, I do. Well, first of all, I was talking to somebody who served their mission in England, and that is my homeland. I'm 30-something% Scottish and then British and Norwegian.
Oh.
So I would like to travel a little bit. I traveled to Asia. I've been to Asia a few times. I've been to Japan. I've been to Hong Kong. But I've never traveled to where my ancestors are from. So I'd like to do that. And then I wrote both of my parents' personal histories. I felt inspired to do my dad's before he passed away. And then I wrote my mom's before she passed away. They'd be in their 90s now, my parents. And so I have attempted to do mine, but I know more about myself. And that's harder to condense than,
That's
it's
true.
harder
Yeah.
to condense something about your whole life. So
Mm-hmm.
I do need to work on that, and it's going to take me a while.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of my projects too. So I've got stuff to do.
My grandpa has actually been working on his own personal history for
Yeah.
like the past 10 years. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, it can take a long time.
takes a long time.
Yeah. It came in handy when my father passed away because we used it for his eulogy. And then we used part of my mom's for hers too. So, but everybody has a copy of it. It's kind of nice. And now in the digital age, everybody's like, we don't want to print a copy of it. Can you just send us a PDF? So you can be self-published easily in today's world.
Okay, let's talk about your journey here at BYU-Hawaii, Sister Al. Did you expect to be working here until like retirement?
Well, did I ever expect to work here?
Yeah.
No. Who expects to work at BYU-Hawaii? Literally, I was sitting at I was a copy editor at a newspaper in California, and somebody calls me from BYU-Hawaii and says, would you like to apply for this job? And I was like, what job?
Wow.
Like, come to BYU-Hawaii. I was like, this was years ago because I've been here twice at BYU-Hawaii. And I was like, I don't know. And they said, we'll pay you more than they're paying you now. We're like, oh, okay, maybe I'll consider it. And then, of course, you got to think about that, And then the vice president of University Advancements, which was a local Laie woman, Hawaiian woman, Napua Baker, called me up. And she started talking to me about the mission of this university. And she won me over. Well, actually, no. The Spirit won me over in 15 or 20 minutes. And I was like, I want to be considered. And so they hired me. Can you believe it? Sight unseen. And then I worked here, and then my father was terminally ill, and I went home to help out with that. And I worked at another college and got my master's degree, and then I was looking for a job, and there was this job opening here again, and they decided to hire me back, and now I've been back 20 years. So I didn't think I would come back, but when they flew me over to interview me, and I just knew I was coming back. So you never know. You never know what to expect in life. I always say preparation meets opportunity. If you're prepared and the opportunity comes up, then you can do it.
Sister Al, what made you stay here for 20 years?
Wow. Well, you guys, I said before that I love people, but I love the people of Polynesia and Asia. I really do. After all these years of living here and working with so many students, especially from around the world, I really love the multicultural setting here, but I also love that we are connected through the gospel of Jesus Christ. And no matter what our backgrounds are, or ethnicities, or our cultures, the gospel of Jesus Christ, it's Christ himself that makes us united. And that is the mission of this university, is to bring people together through Christ. And so who can beat that? And you get to live, in a beautiful place. So it's been a joy to work here. It's been a great blessing to work here. And I've loved it.
You told us about like how much you love your job. Specifically, what are the most important things or one of the most beautiful things that you love about your job here?
One of the things that I love about this job is when I work with you guys and I see you take your ideas and think about how you can take your ideas, crazy ideas or whatever, and then how you make them happen. And it's so great to see it all when it comes together. And you see, and often it's better than what you even considered it would be in the end. And so those are such great moments when we're able to work together and accomplish things that we just thought maybe we could do. And so those are super great moments. And when you guys gain the skills and the ability and see the outcome of what you're able to do.
I'm not gonna ask the question.
Because I almost laughed when I saw it.
What is the question?
I put a follow-up question here as a joke. I wasn't supposed to ask. Plus, it wasn't supposed to be me. Michael is supposed to be.
Oh, Michael
So the
was supposed to be here too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the question, wait, where is it? Let me find
So
it.
you put in something that that you now think you shouldn't ask me.
The question was supposed to be who is the best employee and why is it me? It's supposed to be Michael.
Oh, that was supposed to be Michael.
It was supposed to be Michael saying it, yeah.
Oh, wow, that's hard. There's no one best employee. Except you, of course, Ben. You.
Yeah, let's go, man.
No, I don't think I have favorites. Do I? Do you feel like I have favorites? I don't have favorites. I admire the talents in all of you, and I admire the people you are. Because
Admire you,
here's the
Sister
thing:
Al.
is I really do get to know all of you.
That's true.
I really do know you,
Mhm.
and so I kind of know what kind of people you are, and I see you in both good times and bad times. When you're mad at each other, and when you're annoyed, or when you're, you know what I mean, and when you're celebrating. So I really do. It's a pleasure to know all of you.
What sort of progress did you see in your career here? What lesson did you learn?
Wow. Well, always I think that God has a greater plan for you than you have for yourself. And if you just do what you feel inspired or prompted to do, that you will end up somewhere even better and accomplish things more than you ever imagined. And so I guess I can't think of any, I'm trying to think if there's something specific. Give me that question again, Pim.
What lesson did you learn?
I have also learned that you need to advocate for yourself. And, you know, that's something that's hard for, I think, particularly women to do, but I think it's hard for anybody to do. But you do need to advocate for yourself and advocate for the people, because I do advocate for people who work for me. I hope you guys know that. Because if you don't ask, you'll never know. If you want to know about something or ask somebody for something, you have to ask. You have to be willing to ask, because people are people pleasers. And more than 50% of the time, they're going to want to do it for you. There's this guy who did this whole study where have you heard about this guy that did this study where he went around and asked people to do stuff for him? And 80% of the time, people agreed, no matter what it was. And so you do really need to ask for stuff. Ask for what you feel you need or deserve. I did learn that too. And I think I was too much of a people pleaser a lot of my life. So I did have to learn, especially because I advocate for students, that you have to advocate for them and yourself.
Okay, let's talk about journalism.
Okay.
How did journalism change in the past 20 years?
Ooh, wow. I remember the days of rolling film in a dark room that you couldn't even see,
Wow.
because you had to do it in the dark.
way.
And then you had to take it out of the canister and you had to roll it in the dark on this reel and hope it didn't stick together. Oh, I mean, and then develop it with all these chemicals. And it was quite a process. And now you just go click. And then you go download, and then you do fix, and it's done. It's kind of miraculous. Digital has changed access for people, you know, access to information and access to, you know, visual and audio stuff. That has changed the way we see the world, because now we can see anything anywhere, and that's all because of the digital era. So I did start out back in the old days, you know, where I remember when we had a negative scanner where you could scan negatives, and it was like, woohoo! You know, now it's like fancy cameras just download right to your computer. They link, you know, now. So you don't even have to have a way to download anymore. It just links to it. So it's just amazing to see what technology has done. My dad was an early computer programmer. And so we always had technology in our house growing up. In fact, my dad had a personal computer in our home in the 80s, long before anybody
That's
else.
expensive, that must be.
Well, he was a computer programmer. That's what he did. So I grew up with technology, but it is amazing still to see that so much of what you do, you can just do with your phone. Your phone does so many things now. And so it has changed, you know, who has access, who can share information. It's not gatekept by those who were in control. Now anybody can start their own podcast, right? Anybody can start their own web page. And so there's an outlet for people that's low cost, almost no cost. And now there's been a greater democratization of journalism. But there has also been more bad information. So you guys know,
Yeah.
information people pass on without thinking that's incorrect, and then other people believe it. So misinformation, bad information, there's a greater amount of that as well.
Yeah.
So it is more of a challenge in this day and age to separate out truth from half truth. It's pretty obvious when something's blatantly weird, or wrong. But when it's combined, it's a little harder. And so I think that even though it has brought about this access, greater access for anybody, anywhere, as long as you have internet access or satellite access, it's also created a cacophony that sometimes it's hard, too much chaos out there.
Okay, so What things did you wish that would have stayed the same in journalism?
The basic of how you do journalism is the same. You interview people, you check facts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That is the same, and it's totally necessary. So I think that is the same. I think that because of technology, I think local news is so fascinating. And so it's pretty easy to do it through social media. There's so many local social media groups that you can get information. But I remember watching a video and they were talking about how people would say, oh, you know what? I'm here. Come meet me here. It was like doing this like far away kind of like what we're going to do in the future. And like in a few years, your phone could do all of that. Here's where I am. Meet me here. You know, we're going to go to this place for dinner. Here's the menu. Now you can do that. Yeah. So the technology of how we all interact is, I think that's a good thing actually. But it does make it more difficult to also manage information overload.
What achievements in your career are you most proud of?
Wow. Well, we won Magazine of the Year last year. Woo!
Ooh.
And that's pretty cool. We've been nominated a lot because we're very good. You guys are very good. But we actually won, which is hard. It's so hard to win anything because it's so competitive out there against all the schools in the United States and parts of Canada actually also participate. So that's really great. But I think more, like I said, it's what we're doing today for Ke Alaka'i won't be what we're doing a year from now. It's going to change. It's going to evolve into something else. And so that process, that creative process, that's wonderful. You know what I mean? I love that creative process. Actually, being a journalist is a lot like being a teacher, friend, because you gather information, you present it to somebody, and you hope they learn from it. So there's a lot of overlap between being a journalist and being a teacher. That was a pretty easy change for me to make.
So we talked about your achievements, but do you have any regrets in your career?
One time I regretted not getting a PhD. I only have a master's degree,
Oh.
but it costs so much money to get a PhD. Then I thought I could retire and get a PhD if I really wanted to. But then I looked into getting one at UH because the university will pay half the cost if you get a PhD. And you had to read and write in 2 other languages. And I just didn't have the time I could fake Spanish probably. Because you know what I mean? I learned Spanish a little bit, but I'd have to learn another language. And because a lot of PhD programs require that. And I was like, I don't think I have the time or the money or the interest to do all of that. And so part of me is like, maybe I will do that when I'm retired. I'll become a doctor. I don't know if I really regret it. I don't know if I regret that. Maybe that's more of an ego thing than a regret. But I'm trying to think what else I might regret.
Do you still have personal projects or goals in your career that you want to achieve?
You know, I was a feature writer for 8 years, and I wrote features about people and places and events, and I loved it. And I thought maybe I would want to do that the rest of my life. I loved it that much, really and truly. But have I told you this story before? But I went to an interview to become an assistant editor at a bigger newspaper. And the editor and the publisher asked me where I saw myself 5 years from now. This is when I was trying to decide if I was going to stay in journalism or I was going to go into academia again. And the first thing that came to my mind was not doing this. And I went, wow, I had no idea that that's really how I felt till I was in that moment. You know what I mean? And then when I was in that moment, I went, okay, I really do want to go back into academia because it is such an achievement to see you guys learn and grow and gain skills and knowledge and actual practical experience, because what I see you guys do is actual experience and you learn from that. And it changes your life. And so makes you more marketable in whatever you decide to do. And so I love to see that. It was in that moment that I realized that even though I loved being a writer, and I might do that, I might freelance or something, I really love being a teacher. It's interesting that I get more satisfaction out of that. And I do love writing, but I get more satisfaction out of seeing you guys learn and grow.
And do you have any advice for us or for anyone seeking a career similar to yours?
In academia or in journalism?
Both, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, this is what I say to anybody who wants to work in journalism. You can go to any town that you want to live in, research out whatever is the big story, write a story on it, or do a video story on it, go to whatever outlet is there, and if you say, hey, here's what I can do, they will hire you. Because, why? You show an initiative. They don't have to tell you what to do. They don't have to tell you where to go. You went and did it. So they know you can do the job. So wherever you guys go, any of you guys who've ever worked for me at Ke Alaka'i can get a job anywhere in media or public relations because you have those skills. This makes sense. That's a great way to get a job. If they can hire you, they'll hire you. You don't need anybody to tell you how to do it. You can do it. So that's my suggestion about journalism. And there are journalism jobs out there still. You know, it's a changing landscape, but there's still those jobs. And they're fun jobs. But academia, you have to be willing to say the same thing. This is my advice. You have to be willing to say the same thing over and over and over and over again. And if it really bothers you, then maybe you shouldn't be a teacher. But this copy editors have this problem. They don't like to repeat themselves. Once they told you, they don't want to repeat themselves. But that is the job. Is you are going to tell people, I don't know how many times. Like yesterday, I was reading something you guys wrote on Instagram, and it said 8 years old, but 8 was spelled out. But ages are always a numeral. So I said, oh, you guys, it's always a numeral. I must have said that, I don't know how many thousands of times. But that is what a teacher has to be willing to repeat and repeat till you get it. So if you want to go into academia, you have to be willing to do that. I mean, sure, you got knowledge and experience to impart, but you also have to figure out a way to impart that in a way that people can take it in.
Yeah. What advice would you give to yourself if you could go back 20 years ago?
Wow. Okay. This is the first thing that comes to my mind is really research out what you want to do before you go to graduate school. Because graduate school is a lot of money, and it really does dictate what happens to you afterwards. So I got an undergraduate degree in journalism and communications from BYU Provo. And then I worked in the industry. Then I ended up coming here. And then I went back and worked in the industry and taught at another college. And then I decided I might want to do this, so maybe I should get a master's degree. And I thought I would enjoy getting a master's degree, so I went back to school to get a master's degree. And I got it in education because I thought I should learn how to be a teacher. I'm a teacher. I should learn how to do it. But when you go to graduate school for teaching, they don't teach pedagogy, which is the science of teaching. They teach educational theory. So it was still a good deal for me. But in hindsight, now that I've thought about it more, had I gotten a degree in English, same cost, same effort, if I would have gotten a degree in English, English is a much more marketable degree than teaching. So you have a teaching degree, you can be a teacher. But if you have an English degree, you can teach anywhere. You can teach any place you are because there always are English jobs open everywhere around the world. So that would have made me much more marketable because, I mean, it's not I don't just like the degree I have, but the same amount of money, to make you more marketable and more able to get jobs wherever you go. So something to think about. Because I'd have to do journalism education. But if I had gotten an English degree, I could do a variety of things. I could teach different types of writing classes. It's a more versatile degree. So figure out what you want to do before you go to grad school because it does narrow down your opportunities. A bachelor's is pretty broad, but the more you do a master's and PhD, it narrows your focus down more. So make sure you figured out what's the best deal for you because it's a $50,000 degree. Yeah. Unless you're really, really smart and they pay you to go to college. So there are some people who have that deal. So.
Thank you, Sister Elle. Well, before we wrap up, we have one of your favorite questions. What's something that we didn't ask today, but you think is important for our listeners to know?
That is my favorite question. It's where I've gotten the best answers for stories I've written throughout the years. You've asked me some good questions today. I'm going to say that the most important thing that you need to know in your life is who you really are. And once you know who you really are, which we forget because we come to this earth when we're born, we don't remember who we are. But if you figure out who you are, and the person to ask is our Heavenly Father, He will tell you. And once you know who you are, then that changes the way you perceive yourself. And then the other thing is too, that if you repent and you get right with God, it doesn't matter what the world thinks. And there is where real happiness lies, is if you learn to love who you are and you live in that space where you keep repenting, then you find joy and peace wherever you are. And I would say maybe that's what I would want to tell people.
Thank you, Sister L. It was fun learning all these things about you and seeing the progress you've made in your career.
And thank you, listeners, for joining us in this episode. Don't forget to follow Ke Alaka'i on Instagram at Ke Alaka'i News and on Facebook and YouTube.
You can listen to this episode and all future episodes on Buzzsprout, YouTube, and Spotify. This has been Ke Alaka'i, the podcast. Once again, these are your hosts, Abby.
Him.
Sigh.
See you next week.